Good morning and welcome back to Other Worlds Wednesday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Harnworld 40th Anniversary hardcover edition. Now, I'll admit, I'm very new to this. I am not experienced with Harn very much at all, but as I've been delving into role-playing games and looking at running games myself, I keep getting curious about different worlds, especially ones that have been around for as long as Harn has. Now, Harn is a little bit different from most role-playing settings in that its default state is that it doesn't include any rules. You pick the game that you like, whether it's Palladium Fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, or honestly any other system, and you use the products for Harn as your setting information. So, the book has actually very little in the way of rules, and is very much just a reference document as far as places and people and cultures and all sorts of very, very interesting information. So this particular review is going to be a little bit different. I haven't read the entire book. I've only had it for honestly a few days, but there are some interesting things that I do want to point out, and I'll let you know more what I think as far as the production value. Do I think the content that you receive is a good value in and of itself? And just kind of show off some things that I think are really interesting. I do have some actual plans for Harn moving forward. Just some other short video ideas that I would like to do. And if you are watching this, on the day it releases, tomorrow I will actually be interviewing the one of the heads of Columbia Games on Topics and Tangents, and so we'll talk about Harn and other games that they produce. So honestly, there's going to be quite a bit of Harn content this year. Not that I'm going to run a game in it, but I want to explore world building more. And I think this is going to be an interesting reference just to kind of see what's come in the past and a different way of approaching it. So, with all of that said, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop gaming content. And I'm planning on at least a couple of short videos every month, just going over just some different Harn content, things that I think are interesting. So make sure you're subscribed. If you are interested in it, there are going to be links down below where you can purchase the game or purchase the book from Columbia Games. But I also have affiliate links to DriveThruRPG and Amazon, which if you would like to support the channel, those would be a huge help. So with all of that out of the way, let's take a look at the book itself. All right, so this is the hardcover book that actually comes with two parts. It also comes with this map folio, but we're going to take a look at that here in a little bit, as I need to find a good spot to hold it for a second. All right. So first off, it is a hardcover book close to 300 pages, a little short, but you'll also understand why. But it's a nice hardcover. This whole set does retail for $80 US. In this particular case, just to be very upfront, it was provided to me free by Grant Daglish of Columbia Games. So, I did not have to pay for it, but trust me, this review will be my honest impressions of Harn, well, the book. So, but basically it's going to give you a breakdown of what's included. You have the 80-page Harn book, the 148-page Harn decks, the 32-page Lithia book, the 10-page Kathira book, and I'm probably butchering all of these names, plus then you get a couple of poster maps. So, It says, "Our world, your rules. Harnworld is a medieval world designed specifically for fantasy gaming and suitable for any rule system. Our setting, your story. Run your epic quests within a believable, stable, and rational world. Since 1983, quality, detail, and consistency have been our hallmarks. Nothing is better." All right. So, let's open it up. All right. So first off, the binding is really nice. We've got our table of contents. So it was originally written and created by Robin Crosby, and with additional material by Tom Daglish and Edwin King, plus everyone else involved for the maps and illustrations, and we'll get into some of that here as we go. Now, the next thing I wanted to point out, this paper stock, so it's gloss, it's also really heavy. It is a heavier paper, so it's absolutely a quality production. The colors look really nice. The information, all looks, well laid out. It does have a little bit of an interesting layout. You've got the main column here on the left on each page. A little strange. I would have expected it more to have like the main column in the center, and then the sidebar columns on the outside. But another thing you'll notice right here, you've got, so it says Harn 1. So right now you're in the Harnworld book itself. And it has its own numbering scheme. So one thing that is a little disappointing, there is no index, and there's no table of contents for the book itself. So if you're looking for specific information on a nation or the law system, or any bit of information, you are going to have to actually look for bookmarks yourself. So that was a little disappointing, but otherwise, it's a really, really good production. Now, I know that the way that it's released is it's normally released for 3-ring binders, so the hardcover edition is a little bit different. Again, I am late to the game as far as Harn is concerned, so this is my experience. So I'm trying to, give you my opinion just based on this. So, going over some of the initial things. So it starts out talking about the main nations of Harn. So Harn, actually, I should point out, this is a map of the island of Harn. Now, Harn apparently is an island roughly the size of, say, the British Isles, so England, Ireland, etc. And it is located off of a continent called Lithia, and so this is actually just a very, very small portion of the world. It's literally like saying, okay, here's the information about England, but then there's still plenty more in the world to explore, which is also kind of interesting. So anyway, so they give you a basic breakdown of the nations of Harn. There are 7 human nations. There are 2 non-human nations, elves and dwarves, I believe. And then there are also tribes of Harnic orcs. And apparently there are 18 barbarian nations. Okay. I literally just noticed that. Now, one of the things that I think I have found very interesting, it is trying to be relatively realistic. Now, they do take into account like a fantasy polytheism, so multiple gods, but there are also just a lot of good information about medieval feudalism. So, like right here, feudal nobility, titles, knighthood, chivalry, all those things where if you wanted to play a more realistic role-playing game, you could use Harn to do so. but it still has some fantastical elements, dragons and orcs and elves and dwarves, all those kinds of things. But they talk about the government, they talk about law, family, succession, tribal, um, forest law. I'm not even entirely sure what forest law is. Um, they also get into crimes and punishments. So like rebellion, taking up arms against a lawful liege, penalties, loss of property and title, banishment, or death. Okay, so I mean they're literally breaking down everything that could come up in a game. So that's one reason that I haven't read anything yet, or not anything. I have read parts of it, but I haven't read it all because there's so much to go through. There are also large maps. So we have like a manor field, or not field, but a manor place for the rural areas. They have descriptions of how cities and towns work. City officials, the alderman, the harbor master. They have the economics. So, here are the silver pennies and the gold crowns. So they're talking about how money works in a Harn, complete with pictures. They talk about religions. So this is actually kind of interesting. So the Kethrian family, basically these are different worlds that are connected in some way. So sort of like a Palladium megaverse kind of a thing. Different worlds that are linked together that you can pass through. So we have Terra, Midgard, the Blessed Realm, Yashane, Losnor, and Sharem. I am probably butchering all of these names, so please do forgive me on that. But so they're giving you different ways to either introduce characters or introduce NPCs, things like that you can bring from some of these other realms. But then how also this Kethrian family, influences the religion, the different religious orders, etc. They then go into the history. Now, Harn. One of the interesting things about the history of Harn is they break down. Where is it? I did see a timeline in here earlier. But basically the timeline goes very, very far back. Here it is. So chronology goes to 20,000. So it says BT and TR. I'll be honest, it doesn't. Well, it probably does say somewhere, but I haven't found it yet. What exactly those are, but basically, so either 20,000 years BC, and then it moves to 720 AD. So that is the present day. Now, what's interesting about that is that in all of the Harn products, there's no forward momentum as far as the storyline. They'll cover topics in the past from time to time, but for all intents and purposes, anything that they put out is assumed to be at the year 720, and not moving forward. Now, the purpose of that is because as players, you're going to be telling your own stories. You're going to be, overthrowing a king, or putting down an orc rebellion, or venturing to the islands to the west, whatever it is, things that haven't been discussed, and they don't want to interfere with the stories that you create moving forward. So if you want to set your world in 730 TR, that's perfectly fine, because nothing that they publish is going to counteract that. It's not going to put out things that that you might not have planned for in your particular timeline, because you've moved beyond 720. So anything they come up with, that was all in the past. So I just think that's really, really interesting approach to the game, and it actually does give me some ideas on this world that I've been building. Now it does have a little bit of rules as far as like, so just background information. So what species are you? Are you male or female? When's your birthday? Where were you born? Okay, so are you a barbarian? Are you from Candé, Retham? And what city are you from in those countries? So breaks all of that down. Um, Rules for weather generation. The movement rates uh, in Harn. So there's a little bit of rules, but they're rules that can be put anywhere. Um, Game system doesn't matter. You want to use Fragged Empire or Fragged Kingdoms and play Harn, you can totally do that. And then they have some rules for weather generation. So again, in 80 pages, they're giving you just a great world overview, and getting pretty in depth. Now, there are additional books for the different kingdoms. I do have one for Kaldor. I haven't looked at that one yet. Come on, I'm not even through the Harnworld book. But so the next thing that it includes is the Harndex. Basically, think of this sort of like, an encyclopedia, or not really a dictionary because it's not defining words, but yeah, just like a little short reference manual. So okay, so here's an entry about dragons. Here's an entry about Dirissa Castle. So it's very, very much a reference material. This is going to be more like, unless you like reading encyclopedias cover to cover, you'll probably struggle a little bit. I know I will. I've read like the Shadowrun Streetpedia. I was a little rough to read through because it was an encyclopedia. This is kind of similar, but again, it's all new information. So if there's something you want to look up, or you see referenced in another book, here you go. Here's going to be a reference, and it'll just give you a short paragraph about that information. So the Harndex is pretty big in this whole book, but again, lots of art, tables, still great. All right, the next section is Lithia. So remember, Lithia is that main continent. So you can see here, this is the island of Harn. This is the continent of Lithia. So, this is actually just a smaller section. So more how Harn interacts with the continent. A breakdown of the different languages. So you have all the different languages here, including their color coding, and then where you can find them. How the languages are related to each other. So again, you're just getting all like they're in. This book is an info dump. The Lakis alphabet. So if you want to, I don't know who the Lakis are. So maybe elves. I don't know. More information about about some different locations on the continent. And then the last one is a section on Cathera. So Cathera is the world itself. So again, looking at the map, we have Harn right here. Here is Lithia. And then we have another continent, which is Mernat. And then another one, Camarand. Obviously, those are going to be explored in other products. But before we break that down, so we have a map of the vegetation, description of the vegetation, what kinds you're going to see. We have a description of the wind patterns on the planet, the oceanic currents on the planet, and the major plate tectonics of the planet. Also, the solar system, um, and the zodiac in the night sky. So, honestly, like, if you need anything, this is a great start. They then sell, you know, additional books for, like I said, for different kingdoms, different locations. They have been releasing collected hardcover editions similar to this, for the different kingdoms. So there's a ton of information. Last bit, I won't be able to show all of these because obviously of the infamously small work table. But we have a catalog for Columbia Games. All right. Let me get this out of the way. All right. So we've got the maps, obviously a key. Oop. I don't have enough room. All right, so as you can see, this is drawn really well, really good detail. Very much looks like a map that you'd see out of, like, from the 80s. Very, very similar to some of those older RPG products. You then have, you know, for lack of a better way to put it, just kind of some summary information on the backside. This looks like it might have been used as, like, a promotional item at stores, and so maybe they reprinted this. I don't know. Regardless, very nice. Then I have what's... So this is... Oh, so, okay, so we get a map of Lithia. I just do not have enough room for this. So again, we've got Harn, then we've got the main continent. Different breakdowns. So these are very, very nice. I don't even know how to describe it. It feels like it's a waxed paper or something. It's definitely, it's very thick, very heavy duty, and just has a very interesting finish to it. But overall, these are really nice. So, overall, this has been super interesting. It's the ADHD has definitely kind of taken advantage of it. So, like, it's nice because I can open it up and usually read about something in just a page or two. So I haven't been trying to read it cover to cover. I do wish there, like I said, maybe like a couple of like summary pages, table of contents. Those things would have been nice. But my understanding is these are a collection of other printed products, so I can kind of understand why they didn't. It's just something that I would have personally liked. Overall, I do think it is a really good value for the $80. It is a bit pricier than some books, but I have also seen books that are not produced as well. The books may have a larger page count, but the paper is very, very flimsy. All of this is a very, very heavy cover stock, or not cover stock, but it's a very, very heavy paper stock that, as you know, it's going to hold up on its own, but it will also hold up if you actually want to use it. So, you know, you don't have to worry about, well, I don't think you have to worry about a lot of, you know, page tearing, things like that. Personal opinion. Overall, if you are interested, if you want a new fantasy world, or if you want just a more realistic fantasy world, definitely check out Harn. Like I said, I will have a link to it down below. Thanks again to Grant for sending this copy to me. Now, as far as what I want to do in the future, basically, I want, as I said, it's kind of interesting to be able to open it up and just look at a section that's a page or two. And so I'm thinking about, as I read through it, doing 2 to 4 short videos each month, just kind of covering just some topics that I think are interesting out of the Harnworld book. It'll just be, it won't be word for word. Obviously, there's copyright issues to think about, but we'll just put out some little snippets of things that I think are interesting or that are influencing my world development. So, like I said, make sure you're subscribed. Come along, see what we have to share. But other than that, thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk to you next time.